Hello, my name is Gray. You may recognize me as a cast member of the Isle of Misfit Rolls, where I play Chakunatuk, also known as Chak, the lizard folk druid, as well as the awakened raccoon artificer Bach. I'm trying something a little different today, this January 1st, 2022. Happy New Year, everybody. What I'm doing is I'm creating a video blog about the process of creating a new campaign setting. Mike, our DM, has been excellent all the way through season one, and we're super stoked and excited about the epic tale continuing through season two. However, like all stories, this one must come to an end, and the question becomes: is what do we do next? Well, I put a lot of thought into it, and Mike loves playing. Heck, we all love playing. We love playing characters, and he's been an excellent DM thus far. But at heart, he likes being on the other side of the DM screen. So I'm going to give him what he wants. And if my fellow players are listening to this, and Mike is listening to this, surprise, I'm making a campaign setting for you guys because I love you so much. Anyways, I'm going to go with 5th edition because while we have tried playing a few one-shots here and there and some mini campaigns of different rule sets, the reality of the matter is everybody at the table is far more comfortable with 5th edition. So I can't blame them for that in the slightest, so I'm just going to give them what they want. With this, I wanted to do something a little different though with 5th edition, since playing just the regular high fantasy all the time can get a bit tedious and boring. Unfortunately, it does. So, what I am going to do is I'm going to do a high fantasy / science fiction story in the same vein of Spelljammer, which was, I guess you'd call the predecessor to this. So, I'm going to use a science fiction conversion rule set called Dark Matter by Mage Hand Press, which was previously known as the Middle Finger of Vecna. A lot of the material in it is excellent. I'm going to use a great deal of it, like classes, maybe some of the races, some of the magic, and all that. It's all going to definitely the equipment for and rules for space travel. Stuff that all in there. Throw in a hefty amount of homebrew and some other stuff from my imagination as I put together my own campaign setting rather than using the one that is found in the book. So with that in mind, I put some thought into this, and I think everybody in the group really enjoyed playing in Vertes. So I'm going to give them a bit more of what they want. This is going to actually take place thousands of years in the future. Vertes is still there, the darkness has been defeated, and now there is a larger galaxy to explore, filled with countless worlds, strange, interesting races, and countless other wondrous things for them to discover. In this setting, it's going to involve eldritch horrors, galactic empires, undead space wizards, all vying for control of the galaxy. Meanwhile, somewhere in the backdrop, there is going to be a menace, a malevolent force slowly re-emerging, with seeking to conquer and destroy everything. So, guess what? If you've been listening to our podcast, you know what I'm talking about. The darkness is back, baby. Anyways, I put a lot of thought into what sort of process I want to go through with developing this setting. And so I decided on a sort of free-form video blog to start with, to collect some of my thoughts, as well as to get input to see what people think about it and what changes and tweaks I can do to it along the way. Right now, I've decided to go with a sort of organic approach to developing the universe at large. I'm going to create a planet and decide on who inhabits it and their culture and everything, and slowly ring out from there, because that planet and the people who inhabit it clearly will have connections throughout the universe, and therefore I'll just spiral out using those connections until I have enough of the the setting fleshed out that I am happy about it, and then I can expand upon it by creating the actual story want the players to be involved in. I have about a year to plan this out because we still got to get through the entire season 2. So I'm going to try my dangest to get this done. I'm also going to try to keep these video blogs going about once a week, probably on Saturdays. I'm hoping that I get some feedback on them, so I got at least a good idea as to whether I'm aiming in the right direction. I know that a lot of the people that will be listening to this hopefully will listen to the podcast and can definitely give me some input. And hopefully, just hopefully, the players and the DM don't listen to this, because I kind of want to make this a bit of a surprise for them. I'm going to call the game Galaxy, or the Misfits of the Galaxy, a sort of riff on Guardians of the Galaxy. And as for what planet I'm going to start with, I'm going to start with a world I call Abundance. Abundance is an agricultural world, very rural, filled with rolling hills, lazy rivers, and a temperate climate almost all year round. The harvests are large, and it is peaceful as there is no predatory species on the planet. And very much, it is pretty much the Shire from The Hobbit, only on a global scale. And just as you would imagine, the race that inhabits this world are the Halflings, or as I like to call them, the Hin, borrowing from Ed Greenwood, from the word that he used to identify the Halflings in both the Forgotten Realms as well as Mystara. Anyways, I've always been a fan of the old school Halflings that were based off of the Hobbits from J.R. Tolkien. So I'm going to go with something very similar to that, where you got like the large feet with the curly hair and the leathery soles, so they walk around barefoot. They're a bit pudgy or podgy, and they're the size of children. They're very gregarious and social. They love a good meal, a fine smoke, a strong ale, and they're definitely gossip mongers. This is their world. Whether it is their home world or whether it is simply a world where they are the dominant species, that's up for debate. However, they have a very sort of laid-back lifestyle here, trading the abundance, no pun intended, of excess foodstuffs that they produce in exchange for manufactured goods from other star systems and planets, right? So, what makes abundance interesting is I've decided to put a little bit of a twist on it in the fact that they're dealing with an aging population crisis. I found this gorgeous image online of a halfling, a 60-year-old halfling male who with like dad written under it, and an 18-year-old orc girl that says with daughter written under. And the entire idea of cross-species adoption is just, I like it, and I like it a lot. So the reason, so I'm introducing it into the setting, and the way I'm introducing it into the setting is there's an aging population crisis on abundance. Since there are no dangers to be had, aside from boredom itself, many of the young folk who live on this world depart to explore the greater galaxy at large. As a result of that, their parents and their grandparents and so on are left on the world by themselves. The fertility rate has gone down, obviously. They're looking at a situation where most people are suffering from like empty nest syndrome of some sort or another. There's no one to take care of them when they grow old. There's no one to tend the fields when their arthritis starts acting up and what have you. And they feel lonely. They have each other, obviously, but there's this absence of like a parental child relationship there anymore, and that's what they're yearning for. And so there are some races out in the universe that have situations where like orphan children are fairly commonplace. Orcs, for example, possibly goblins, and others, where these more savage and brutal species with shorter lifespans, like their parents meet untimely demises all the time, and the clans and tribes and societies that they come from don't necessarily want to take on the burden of raising them. These halflings, based off of hobbits, are by their very nature known for their hospitality and friendly demeanor. Therefore, they have decided to fill that void in themselves, the absence of their own children. They've decided to adopt these children from other species. It creates a very interesting dynamic on the planet of abundance, because now you have halflings who have this very laid back approach to life, trying to instill the same cultural normalities upon species that are typically considered to be more violent by nature in the galaxy at large. And in many cases, this is quite successful, because most of the children who are being adopted are very young and at that very impressionable age. And I think it is a great juxtaposition to have a bunch of orcs dressed in fine clothing, like walking around, enjoying the same things that like you normally associate with a hobbit, right? And like looking down at this like 3 foot tall woman and calling her mom or grandma or something like that. There's and looking like having that wonderful relationship that if they were in their own culture and society would be sorely lacking for the most part. I think this is an excellent way to sort of create a explanation in a campaign world as to why why these the behaviors of orcs and goblins and things like that don't necessarily need to fit those like be a square peg fitting into a square hole all the time in a D&D setting, because there's been a lot of controversy recently about the cultures that have been created for these species in Forgotten Realms. I'm not going to say it's D&D, because if you look at something like Eberron and the like, or even Dragonlance, you have, depending on which species or race you're dealing with, they can have completely different cultures than the sort of the ones that people are finding offense to nowadays. Anyways, because of that, I've decided that everything needs a good explanation, and everything needs to be real interesting. It needs to captivate people. People need to listen to this and want to know more. That's what I'm trying to aspire towards with the idea of the of orcs and goblins, and that having this unique relationship with the halflings of abundance. Anyways, I plan to have these being about 15 minutes long, and they're more of a rambling than anything else, since, as I said before, this is a bit freeform. I'm certain that as time progresses, I'll get better at this, but I hope you enjoyed yourselves. Tune in next week. I might have some more details about the Halflings of Abundance, and I kind of want to go into Orc Society next, I guess, or like maybe Orc culture, what planet they're from, and I have some interesting ideas as to why they have this eternal animosity no matter what setting you have them in, typically with with the elves. I hope you'll tune in for that, and I hope you'll enjoy it. My name is Gray yet once again. Please, if you haven't watched us before or listened to us before, look at the links down below and listen to our podcast, The Isle of Misfit Rolls. I would greatly appreciate it. I'm signing off. Take care, and always remember to try to aim for rolling a 20 on your die.